So we had Vision no Kish. Now we're going to have Kish and no Vish. Welcome to the stage.
Cool. Hello, everyone. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about architecting the experience operating system. I'm going to start off with saying I'm not going to be petitioning the rename of Design System London to, Operating System London. And there's a very good reason for that. But that's what this talk is about. So, brief intro to myself. I'm Kish. I'm a design system manager here at Lloyds. And I work with an amazing team within the Cancara squad covering web and native mobile. Many of you know me and Vish from Config, but as well as other talks that we've done in the past year. But a bit of a background intro to some of the things I'm really into. Very much into chess and won a competition for the county. I love languages and have self-taught in Gujarati, Hindi, and I dabble in Sanskrit. And I love Lego. As all design system geeks might be into, we really love Lego. And I'll probably be showing off a few of my personal things, but we all look at Lego as an analogy to say, this is how we can construct something, and then, we can turn it into a multi-product solution. And then when it comes to something really big, we think, actually, we're going to use the same pattern again and again. But when you reach a certain scale, it's so big, it's just beyond what we're just talking about is patterns. And that's what I really want to talk about today is the collaboration of design systems and operating systems. So at Config, we covered the actual rebrand story. But here I want to kind of pick up from where we left off from the rebrand and kind of tell the story of where we are here today. From the rebrand, we had one narrative. Yep. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Can you all hear me? Oh, that's loud. Okay. Right. Do I need to start again? No. Okay. So the rebrand gave us one narrative, fewer competing priorities. It gave us clear ownership because it was program-led, no resourcing issues, on the down low. There was a clear strategy where we wanted a clear migration without any chaos. And the outcome of that was we were able to prove a design system is critical infrastructure for an organization. The rebrand gave us a runaway. The question is what happens when the runaway ends? And at Config, that's where we announced Cancara OS, our brand experience operating system. But I'm going to sort of take a pause and try to answer the question, what is the difference between a design system and a operating system? I'm going to use this analogy. So it'd be really great to get a few hands up to see what do you see first. So how many see a duck? Awesome. How many see a rabbit? Very few. Okay, cool. That is, as an analogy, how we work with sort of the business, right? We all talk about design systems, and one of the biggest problems with that is we fail to actually explain what is a design system to senior stakeholders. And now if you throw in another term in there, which is operating system, what the hell does that mean? No one has a clue. Everyone is saying this is an operating system, it's Cancara, it's a design system. And here I'm just going to maybe ruffle a few feathers and try to define these. And that's the main objective here. It is not whether you see the duck or the rabbit. The goal as a team for a design system team is we just want everyone to see and agree that we are seeing either the duck or the rabbit. So a design system is a shared language for how things look and behave across products based on a collection of rules and reusable parts. This can look like having foundations, a UI library, guidelines, and code. An operating system is a shared model for how an organization orchestrates practices and experience principles to deliver consistent brand-aligned products and services across every touchpoint. So what does this look like? Again, you have foundations, capabilities, governance, and delivery. But what do these actually mean? The foundations sets what experiences should be before anything is designed. Capabilities involve invisible services every experience relies on. The governance displays clear guardrails to enable faster and safer design decisions, and the delivery converts the brand promise into a lived experience. And so, in short, the design system governs what users experience, while the OS governs how the organization operates. For us at Lloyds, scale is the product now. So I'm kind of going to take us back to when the rebrand was completed. And so what we had also presented before was why update a button when you could release a new feature instead. So that was the mindset that we were playing with before the rebrand. But now, once the rebrand was completed, all of those single focus, having one narrative, all of that was not the case. We were relapsing. And so here were some of the relapse patterns we were having. What is the priority? Do we have a business use case for it? Actually, it causes too many breaking changes. Is it worth doing? We need to do a lot of testing. And so is it even worth deploying that out? And there's a lot of need for coordination. So it's going to really be harder to roll out the change that we want. The key thing to remember, though, is an operating system isn't for perfect conditions. It's for messy ones. So what I'm going to go through now are those 4 aspects that I covered of an operating system and kind of showcase some of the work that we are doing currently. So when it comes to foundations, and a lot of when we're talking about AI as well, I saw this lovely quote, which is, if you automate a mess, you just get faster mess. And so at the core, what we're really trying to do is work on our 6 pillars: design language, a UI library, code repo, documentation, governance, and metrics, fully sort of established and connected across the board, not just having a really good Figma library, a bit of a good code base, and maybe just a bit of documentation. We want everything to be connected. So how do we actually go about doing that? And this is one framework that we're looking at doing. This is where at the start, you would be tactical with your sort of implementation. We would work on the foundations, and then we would scale those foundations, and that would lead to transformation. So let's look at some of the capabilities that we're trying to look at. If we take this journey or experience, which is we want to make a simple payment. Typically, you would go to the public domain, you would log in, and then you would do something like pay and transfer. But each team optimizes their own part of the flow, ignoring the experience. So the experience can be divided into 3 segments typically. So let's focus on each one. The tech stack. We can have multiple systems divided. So you can have a system for the public site, which is a CMS, a system for the secure site, which might be made from React, and you might have a system for internet banking, which may be a mixture of Java and CWAs, which stands for Client Web Applications. At an org structure level, you will have a public site team. You may have a team that is set up to deliver a feature, and then it's disbanded, so it's only temporary. And then you've got multiple feature teams handling different things. At the feature level, you might have authentication, account management, and payment processes. So in short, In short, you do have a lot of people that are working in one experience, but it leads to a lot of disconnection. And so after the rebrand, we've attracted a lot of attention, but it's the experience that determines whether people stay. And so that's why, looking at the overall experience, we decided to organize our OS by journeys and products. At a very high level, when we're talking about journeys, we're talking about things that we're classifying as a customer lifecycle management. So things like make a payment, balances the transactions, etc. Those journeys have different experiences across different products or systems, whether that might be on the public side versus mobile banking. And then we have the brand layer, which is quite different for each brand. So what I'm going to now show is a few concepts that we are looking at, but it's more as an exploration of things to show what we're doing at Lloyds. First is the theory of extended collections. So again, tying everything down to journeys, not saying this is a final structure or architecture, but could we, within a single collection, host all of our journeys within there and then extend them for the pattern? So we are all, as feature teams, working towards one structure. When it comes to documentation, we might be using something like Figma Make or something to explore what that documentation should look like. We always have something like this, where we have our global documentation layer. But what if we could do the same for the local documentation layer as well and make that journey based? So this is not filling out the components, but more focusing on, could we also show the components that we have within Figma or any other UI library and divide it by the journeys themselves. When it comes to metrics, we might also want to do the same at the product layer as well. So we have a system lens of how well the system is performing of the 6 foundations that I covered. You've also got the product lens, which is how each product is working. And then you've got the journey dashboard, which is then covering how that individual journey is performing. Again, linking in your UI library, the code base, documentation across the board. When it comes to governance, we are also looking at multiple frameworks. One of these is known as the Lloyds Design Assurance. So these are the 12 criteria that we have set that every journey needs to meet before it is gone live. A really nice thing to see is number 6, which is the solution correctly uses the design system components and published brand guidelines, which typically tends to get ignored. But this is really good when you have it as a framework and all the designers are meeting that criteria. But when it comes to the business end of things, not everyone needs to follow this. It's just what designers are following. This is where we want, where when design becomes policy, and in this case, business policy, alignment becomes effortless. So something that we're looking at is actually making any of these frameworks that we're deciding as a design team to be part of the business policies. So it's not a nice to have, it's a must have, because you have attached risk to the work that you're deploying. The last category that I'd covered was delivery. And all of the POCs and experiments that I showcased just before is actually part of something we call Cancara Labs. But actually something that our design director mentioned recently is ambition should not be limited by capacity. So I just wanted to showcase something as what we are going beyond and where I see the operating system going. If we took the concept of an ice cube and we wanted to transform it into any other object, typically a lot of people would say we would shave off the edges of the ice cube in order to turn it into a pyramid, but actually you would end up losing volume. What we actually want to do, and we all know, is simply you can unfreeze the ice cube, change its shape and mold it into a new shape and then refreeze it. That way you don't lose volume. In the same way, we want to do that with the operating system as well, where we're using the foundations, the design system and the journey experience to flow through organizational changes and flow through everywhere. Essentially, we want to be able to deploy a system that goes towards being able to be self-healing. So we're using things like AI, we're using other capabilities, but the end goal is where the system can actually take care of majority of the issues that we want it to take care of. And so this is more of a diagram of where things we are working into, which is the Cancara MCP. And this is trying to connect all of the concepts that we've talked about here. So the Cancara MCP linked in with the context window, which covers the documentation, the metrics, the guardrails. It links into multiple underlying MCPs from Jira to Figma, but also controlling multiple sub-agents. And the main three that we would like to focus on is the capabilities of auditing, migrating, and fixing issues. Now, that's a lot of technical talk, and it can feel quite heavy, and it's quite hard to digest. So I just wanted to put one sort of quote in here as a final thought. If there was anything you guys take away from here, what we are trying to do at Lloyds is build a system for Lloyds. It's a custom solution. But this quote really sits at the heart of everything that we are trying to do. And that is, you do not rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems. And so what we're trying to do is identify where and how our current systems are performing and where we can improve them. And we want to get to a better place where the system takes care of most of the issues. So that's everything I wanted to cover. Thank you.